All right, good morning, everybody. I'm going to try and clear up any misconceptions that we have with cutting some cards. So I'm starting in a blank Google Doc. I've got my debate tools sidebar already open. The one thing that I want to show you before we do that, and this is linked on Classroom, we're going to download another add on called Site Creator. You need to go to paperlessdebate.com and then down here, there's a link to the Site Creator Chrome extension, and you can click on that. And then here's the add-in. And I might have on Classroom put the link to this page just to add it, and then it adds this little guy up here in your extensions window. That is the set of quotation marks, and you can see all of the different buttons you need to push to make it do things. So I've got Site Creator installed. I've got my blank Google Doc with my debate tools sidebar up. So I'm just going to now do a basic Google search. And I'm going to just look for something dealing with the death penalty. So I can go through this, right? There are 245 million results on the death penalty. It's looking at death penalty, it's looking at capital punishment. You can see everything that it pulls up. You can also note going through Google, right? It'll tell you if you're going to pull up a website or if you're going to pull up a PDF, all those different kinds of things. So I'm going to refine my search just a little bit more. And I'm going to put death penalty in quotation marks. And then I'm going to add the phrase criminal justice reform. And I'm doing both of these in quotation marks because I want it to look for articles, websites, whatever that include both of those as phrases. So, death penalty as a phrase and criminal justice reform as a phrase. So, we're going to go from 245 million search results to 340,000. So, the more specific you can be up here, the more specific your results get. The other thing that I can do when I click tools, if I want to look for stuff, I can click on the anytime and change my time or date range. And then I can either look for all results or verbatim, meaning matching exactly those two things. So I'm going to save this one on all results for now. And I'm going to put this death penalty stuff in the last year. Sometimes I don't care about recency. Sometimes I do. It's just depending on the types of um, arguments that I'm looking for. So I'm going to look at just this very first article we get from December 20th of last year. From marijuana to the death penalty, states lead the way in something. So I click on that. And we're going to let it load. And I'm going to see if it lets me move my webcam up here. Because here's what Site Creator does for us. Site Creator takes all of the stuff that we look for in debate evidence, right? An author, a date, a title of the article, the title of the website, all of those different things, and it puts them here into one nice, neat little package. The grade is not a question of how good or bad the website is. The grade is very simply a question of does this extension believe it is grabbing all of the correct information, or does it have enough information? So the B here, it might be because it can't find like author qualifications, which is not the end of the world. But I always double check it to make sure it looks right. So we've got Daniel Nishian. December 20th, 2019, boom, from marijuana to the death penalty, states led the way in 2019. We've got the title, and then the appeal political report is the title of the publisher, the website, all of that stuff. And then we've got the link here. So knowing that I've got my site correct, I'm going to push the 3-button combination that I need to copy and paste it. And it might be a little bit different depending on if you're on a Chromebook, a Mac, or a PC. So I'll always tell you to click up here in terms of looking at what buttons you need to specifically push on your device. But for me, it's Control-Alt-C. So keep an eye on this little box down here below my head. So I hit Control-Alt-C, and you notice how it flashes blue. That means that it's copying this box and it's adding it to my clipboard. So I'm going to go back to my Google Doc where I'm going to process my evidence. I'm going to hit enter twice so I can do some tag work and things like that above it. And then I'm going to paste it here. And boom, we've got the citation information that we need for that piece of evidence in this document. So the first thing I do before I forget is I bold the information that we need. So I'm going to double click on the author's last name and click Cite. And then I'm going to double click on 2019. Nope, it's going to do the whole date. So I'll highlight 2019 and then click Cite. Some pieces of evidence you'll highlight the month and day, and that is if it's something that was written relatively recently. Like if we're cutting an article from today, then I'm going to highlight, November 11th or November 19th, because I want the judge to know that we are reading very, very recent evidence on this question, because sometimes it will matter based on the argument you're looking at. So I've got those 2 items. I'm going to click at the end of my site and then go down 2 lines. Why 2? No real reason. So now I'm going to read what I want to find in a piece of evidence. Okay. So let's say that I want everything in this section on the death penalty. So I'm going to start at death penalty and I'm going to highlight all the way down to this line. I'm going to copy it, go back to my blank Google Doc and paste it. So I'm going to go through it. And the only thing that I don't want this map in the middle of my text. It is okay when you are cutting cards to either highlight around images, or if you're copying and pasting something in, to take an image and delete it, right? And you make sure that you've got all of the information from that section that matches. So, yep, I've got everything here. So now, in this section, I'm going to highlight all of the text that I just copied and pasted in, and I'm going to click the button that says Clear. That's going to change all of the formatting of this to be whatever my default preferred font and font size is. So it's, Calibri size 11. Now it looks all the same. It takes out any hyperlinks. It does anything to make our text note look nice, neat, and uniform. So now I go through this piece of evidence and say, what is something that is important for me to read? Why did I highlight this, right? Instead of just assuming there's something relevant about the death penalty in here, I'm going to have read this section and go, yes, I want that. So now we go through and either underline or emphasize things that we think are important to be read. So I care about this sentence because the states have started doing things with the death penalty. So the Washington Supreme Court abolished the death penalty. I want to emphasize that because it's important to me. We care that California placed a moratorium on executions. New Hampshire banned the death penalty. I'm really bad about like getting a, an, or the and missing a letter or two. Okay, so I've gone through and I've underlined or emphasized the things that I think are important. So now I'm going to highlight all of the text of the card again, and I'm going to click two buttons. The first, condense, and it's going to make it all into one nice type paragraph. And then I'm going to click shrink, and it's going to take all of our non-formatted text, so anything that's not bold, underlined, or highlighted, and it's going to make it small. So the things that we need to read or are interested in having people read pop out a little bit more. The last thing that I do is go back and tag this piece of evidence. So I'm going to look at this and say, some states So I want my tag to be kind of a 1 to 2 sentence summary of what this piece of evidence says. And then I'm going to highlight my tag and click tag. Boom, got it. So this was easy because everything that I wanted to take was from one nice, neat little section packaged under the death penalty. So let's say that I want to look at this parole and early release section too. So I'm going to highlight all of this. I'm going to come down a little bit. So I'm going to come back up since this is from the same site. I'm going to highlight my citation, which we worked with on the first piece of evidence. And then I'm going to come down here and paste it. I can get rid of my map again. So here are some things that you can't do. So I can, delete an image because it's in the middle of the text and it's harder to digest, right? Or it makes it harder to read. But what I can't do is, let's say that I want these two paragraphs as a part of my piece of evidence, and then I want this paragraph as a piece of evidence. I can't highlight, or I can't just copy and paste into my document these two paragraphs and delete that one. Anything that you are cutting or copying and pasting into your document needs to be in the author's original context, right? So just like there were things up here in the first one that I didn't want read, right? I just didn't underline it or highlight it or anything else like that. So if I only want these two paragraphs and then I want this paragraph, right, then I could delete it, but I have to cite where this paragraph is as its own piece of evidence, right? So anywhere you are stopping from what the author is writing, needs to become a new piece of evidence. So we only cut, right, full paragraphs. So I can't go, yep, I just need up to this colon, right? I have to highlight the whole paragraph, and then it becomes a question of what we read in here. The other rule is that you can't change any of the language of the piece of evidence, right? So I can't go in and delete words, add words, manipulate the text of that. There are a few instances where that practice might be okay, but it's to change things like potentially gendered language, ableist language, triggering language, and that's something that you as a novice don't need to worry about right now as you are just diving into the world of your research. So I've copied and pasted all of this stuff on parole and early release. I'm going to click clear, and that'll also get rid of some of the highlighting I did. Okay, so I've gone through again and either underlined or emphasized things. So I come back, I click condense to tighten it all into one paragraph. I click shrink to minimize the size of my non-formatted text, and then I come back up here and write my tag. I'll highlight my tag, click tag, boom, there it is. So this process is relatively simple, right? So you're going to find the article on the topic that you're looking for, and then you're going to read that article. And you're going to go, ooh, some of this might be good, some of this might be good, some of this might be good. And you're going to find things that you think are good pieces of evidence to read in a debate, right? So these are things that we could talk about in a world of a discussion about either the death penalty or life without parole, right? That we could either use these pieces of evidence to say, yes, the state should take the lead, or no, the federal government needs to take the lead because, right, all of these start with, hey, the states did some pretty good stuff, but then on the bottom, it's like, but here's where some other states, kind of fell behind. So I've got these, and they're ready to read and be shared with anybody. So Debate Tools does a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of, formatting it and making everything nice, easy to read. This is good because as we share evidence with each other, we now have cards that look the same, and it's easy for us to adapt from doc to doc to doc to doc to doc. Site Creator makes the thing that used to take the longest to do, generate all of this citation information, ridiculously easy because it grabs all of it for you. And I'll show you Site Creator on, just a different website. So if I were to go to something like Instagram, Watch what happens to the box down here. Right? It gives Instagram a D minus because it can't find an author, a date, a title of, like, it thinks Instagram is the title of the article, no publication, and just a website. So it gives it a D minus because it can only find one piece of information. It does the same thing sometimes if we were to go to individual news articles. So if I click here on just some random article from something in Detroit, we'll see how it does in pulling things up, or if it gets things incorrect down here in the box. Okay. Oh, I gave it an A minus, but we can see it's missing one of the authors, right? So in an instance, here's where you can fix some of the things based on what Site Creator tells you. So if I want to make sure that both authors get credited here, I'm going to hit Control Alt 1 and watch what happens down here next to Randy Wimbley's name. We see that it adds both of them, right? Does it have the right date? 11 hours ago? Yep, that would have been the 19th. And we've got the right title, we've got Fox 2 Detroit, and we've got the website. So if this box is missing some things, right, that's where Site Creator you can click on and it will tell you what buttons to go back in and push to add some stuff, because you need to make sure that this is as accurate as you can make it before anybody reads, your evidence, or you read your evidence in a debate round. So that's the process from start to finish of cutting some cards using the debate tools, or the debate tools add-on, and using Site Creator. If you've got any questions, please feel free to ask on Classroom. Send me an email. Do any of those things that you need to make sure that this has set you up for success. Thanks.